Yes, they're making renovations to our building.
Beautiful renovation.
Okay. Okay, so there you go.
Okay.
We'll get started. This is I'm Isabel Lopez. I'm Isabel Lopez, and I'm a student at UTRGV, as you know, Ms. Villarreal. This is my principal and my mentor, Ms. Villarreal. And my professor is Dr. Jauregui, Dr. John Jauregui. So pretty much this is observation number 1, and this is submitted to TEA as part of my requirement for my practicum, which is my last class within my program, my principalship program. You go through the master's program, and then after that, you have to enroll in the certification program, which is the pre-practicum, which started in August. And in order for you to enter the one I'm in right now, it's each one is 7 weeks. So I finished 7 weeks, and you have to pass your certification exam. If you don't pass your certification exam, you're not able to enroll into these courses. And then you have to wait like 45 days to retake the test and all of that. So luckily, the way it worked for me, now Pearson is apparently taking over the testing, the principal testing. So I had to register, like let's say I registered today, and the test is a day from now. So
really?
It was there weren't any locations. I had to test all the way in Harlingen, and it was very nerve-wracking because I had been preparing, but at the same time, it's computer-based, yes. But luckily, I was so happy that, I was able to enroll into this class, and that's the reason that we're doing this observation right here. And thankfully, I passed, and everything was good with that part of my experience within UTRGV.
That's quick. 7 weeks.
7 weeks, yes.
It's very quick to do a practice.
They're online modules. It's very quick, and everything's just congested. The weeks run through Tuesday and ends on Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. So it's always like go. It's always like that.
That's interesting because I went through a whole semester of practicum and then another semester of practicum. Do you feel it's rushed?
In the beginning, you do feel rushed, but then after that, like since I took the master's program, I feel like it's just it's a lot of reading, it's a lot of I'm gonna do this and that, so you kind of feel more independent in a way. So, but it is rushed. It's definitely rushed. So, but of course, this is where I live in Rio Grande City, so driving to Edinburgh would be very difficult for me because the time and then teaching, and I think will be very time consuming.
Do you feel prepared?
I feel prepared, yes. I would say I do feel prepared. The program is excellent. The professors are very helpful, and they're always a call away. Like even though they live in Edinburgh in the Valley, but the one I have right now, Dr. Jauregui, he lives here in Rio Grande. He likes to live here, he said, because it's calm and it's like that. So, but they're very helpful. I know sometimes we will have online sessions where you will meet with a professor online, and he would help you like, well, let's do this and that. They were called online collaboration through Blackboard, and they're real good. Like I've always liked it because you call them, even like they'll respond to your messages like at 11 p.m., 12 a.m. They're ready to take it.
That's good.
Okay. So part of this are my requirements that I need with this observation number 1.
Okay.
And it's a total of 3 observations. This is the first observation, and it is, like I said, it does go to TEA, and this is you already have the agenda that we're going to be following.
I do.
Okay, so today is October 31st, 2018. So introduction, pretty much the program goal is to expose interns to the profession of an administrator through hands-on experiences and activities. And the purpose of this meeting is to provide an overview and requirements of the principal internship program for all members. Mentor training PowerPoint, and I know you're familiar with the PowerPoint that I gave you weeks ago, and I know you went over it, and you helped me right away. You weren't hesitant. You told me I could do this, and that. This is your copy. And I don't know, the renovations, I'm pretty sure they could still hear my voice. Okay, so I just want to go over a few of these sheets.
Sure.
And for example, observation number 1, it says a planning session with mentor led by practicum student. So this is what we're doing presently. And it's the welcome and introduction, TA compliance requirements for principal, mentor role and responsibilities, field supervisor and intern responsibilities, practicum requirements, expectations and forms. And I already remember the form that I told you to sign last week.
Yes.
And the one that I have to get from the superintendent, I got that as well. Videotaped observation number 1, which is right now, is about 45 minutes. And the goals, the principal practicum goals are complete principal practicum course, expectations, TA requirements, has the principal Texas exam prior to the practical course, which is we were talking about a little while ago. Successful completion of 160 hours of law core leadership activities. That is it's difficult within 7 weeks.
That's what I'm
yes,
gonna
but
say.
we did start in September, and it will give us a leeway. And then let's say you don't finish, you can still keep on going like in January, February, and all that. But of course, the goal is to finish before December 4th, because that's when December 5th, December 4th, that's when the class ends. But I mean, of course, it's always like people go over the 160 to do 200, 250 hours. So it's not gonna be like, oh, I'm done, I can't help anymore. Like it's more like the more experience I'm able to get like hands-on, like better for me. Yes. And then successful completion of 3 videotape observations for a total of 135 minutes, and effective communication, coaching, and student mentoring. And then on the next page, the TEA requirements. For a practicum, an educator preparation program must provide a minimum of 3 observations during the term of the practicum. And for candidates seeking professional certification as a superintendent, principal, school counselor, school librarian, or educational diagnostician, each educator preparation program shall provide a practicum as defined in section 228.2 of this title for a minimum of 160 clock hours. And as you go through the other one, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just like coaching, communication, mentoring, and the other few pages are, like for example, as a field supervisor, which is my professor, he pretty much does the observing, the coaching, the supervising, and the classes. He tells me, this is what you need to do this week, and of course he provides us with a syllabus, and we have to go over it, and we have to be like, okay, we have to meet these expectations, and we have to do everything by a certain date.
Okay.
And then,
Campus mentor. What do
yes,
you mean?
the campus mentor, which is yourself, it's to guide, support in dialogue, and mentor. And for me, it was the observations, I need to take care of that, the logs are where we input our hours, like what we've been doing, and the classes that I need to take. And let me just make sure that this is, the time is ready.
Now, the observations, let me ask you about that.
Okay, let me just double check if it is, cause that one was not ready. Okay, this one we're good, this one is ready.
Okay, the observations, let me ask you about that. The observations, you're talking about classroom observations, correct? Or you're talking about observations with me?
Yes, like the observations would be, like for example, this one is observation number 1, and observation number 2 and 3, we're gonna be discussing in a little bit. It's gonna be me with a few teachers and 2 staff, and then I'll have to do like another 45-minute, 2 more 45-minute recordings.
I understand.
Yes.
And then the logs, you take care of those?
Yes, the
In
logs
class,
are the
of
ones,
course.
yes. So that's it, and I know you all are overwhelmed with work, so I know it's overwhelming and, things like that, but I mean, we do really appreciate the help, as much help as we could get. Yes, and I know, like you said, anything comes up, like right now, the noise over there, like interruptions, it's always gonna be like that, it's real life. Okay, and if we go back to, we'll go back to this in a little bit.
Okay.
If we go back to this, the welcoming, the purpose of the meeting was, again, to provide an overview and requirements of the principal internship program for all members, mentor training PowerPoint, which is what we just did, discuss ongoing and future projects to complete, fulfill requirements of observation 1, plan observation 2, and observation 3. So that's the purpose of the meeting. Requirements of observation 1 right now, and then plan observation 2 and 3. Like any projects that you would like to give me, and I know we discussed this before.
Yes, we discussed a couple of projects that you might have.
Mhm.
And I know I already, told you that on tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes.
There's a district leaders meeting that you're going to go.
Okay.
So, you're the only one that's gonna go. I'm not gonna go, you're gonna go, you're gonna stand ground for our school,
Okay.
and you're gonna bring back all the information.
Okay, and who are the ones that are present at that meeting? Like, is it teachers or it's
No, it would be the assistant superintendent, a couple of administrators from the schools,
Okay.
and it's on district leadership in order to, to see how there's different departments and the different schools are doing, and come together to see, because we were under the eye scopes of TA, so they wanna make
Okay.
sure that everything's okay.
That everything's okay. Okay, that sounds good then. All right, and then over here, overview of practicum requirements, 3 45-minute observations by UTRGV supervisor, Dr. John A. Howdegi. Reflections about our observations. Usually when we do the observation, I have to reflect. I have to put on a discussion, this is what I learned. And other students do the same thing. It's only a total, we're a small class, we're 7 or 8 students, because again, it's difficult to get into it, and some students, by the time some students just decide to get their masters. But since the testing is changing, yes,
Sorry.
the test is changing, and like right now you could be grandfathered into the test, but it's gonna be changing. It's gonna get a lot more expensive, $100 and some, and I know right now, we're trying to like whoever wants to try to get certified, like, well, let's do it now before the test changes.
Okay.
So yes. And then that's the reflections. Detailed activity log to include a total of 160 hours of relevant experiences such as policy review, interviews, like I would like to maybe possibly job shadow you.
Okay.
Presentations, which I know we've covered a few and we'll discuss them in a little bit. Discipline, supervision duties, curriculum and instruction training, principals design team meetings, practicum assessment 4, and meetings scheduled to discuss on October 11th at 5:30 p.m. So that one is disregarded, the October 11th date. And then the hours began in early September. I already have a log, and this is just so you could know the way I have to do it. I have to align everything to the standards.
Okay.
And the standards, they're over here, and I know you're familiar with them. Like for instance, standard 1, instructional leadership. I did more on 2, 5, and 4 because
Of the campus improvement plan.
of the campus improvement plan.
I asked you to do,
Yes, that you had asked me to do. We worked on it. We went over it, and it, of course, it's very important for. I know beforehand there was also input from all the departments, like what are we gonna do for these subjects.
Correct.
For each department, and treat faculty staff members as the most valuable resource and invest in the development, support, and supervision of the staff. And pretty much that's how I had to do it. I have to input my description, about the hours and the standard. So this is what I have to turn into my professor each month. But again, I have to try to finish everything by December 4th. So,
Okay.
but of course, I mean, I could still surpass the 160. It doesn't have to
Because you started back in September the 3rd.
Yes, September the 3rd, correct. So these, everything has to everything has to be tied in back to the standards, all the work and the descriptions. Okay, and then for this one here, what I've done so far, it pretty much goes back to over here. Yes. Pretty much what I've done is like we set the campus improvement plan, presented, discussed campus improvement plan to staff. I know you had done that. And compared the campus improvement plan to district improvement plan, because you always have to make sure the district and the campus are aligned, so they have similar goals. Modified campus improvement plan to match the district improvement plan goals. Modified campus improvement plan annual evaluation survey, where the teachers believe that the connections. Finalize, discuss campus improvement annual evaluation survey, including instructions, and pretty much also the Title I PowerPoint presentation that you allowed me to present to a group of parents. I was very informative because I learned a lot of the information through Title I, like the McKinney-Vento, that was on our test. So when I saw that, I was thankful. I was like, oh, good thing. Like I know that's the homelessness, and I thought I was very interesting. So that helped me throughout my exam as well. So it's very interesting. Yes, I love the way everything connects, like everything plays hand in hand, and there's a lot of information. And I know they always tell us that it's a living document. The test is a living document because it's always changing. Like they start adding new policies, new problems, new questions, and reviewed and presented end of year, 8th grade end of year Washington DC trip information to parents, and provided information about EF tours. That's pretty much every year throughout the history department, they do a program like that, and they take the kids to Washington DC, the East Coast, Boston, Philadelphia, New York, and planned out fundraising tentative items for AC2E Middle School, and we decided to go with Kona Ice, which they have really tremendously helped the school.
Which you are being the one calling them and
Yes.
connecting with them.
Calling them, and they send in the checks, and participated in annual LPAC beginning of year training. Pretty much the annual training that every teacher that's involved is part of it. LPAC committee has to attend, and conducted TEACS resource meeting pertaining to lesson planning and assessment creator, the day that we had professional learning day.
Correct.
We did the assessment creator and explored strategies to practice in monthly fire drill practice.
Right.
So how do you strategize? What are we gonna do? Where are the students gonna exit? And take alternate routes, because you never know what might occur. It could be what is it called, like an emergency or a blockage, or you never know what could occur. Okay, and I know you do have your calendar with you.
Yes, I do.
So, and let me just double check that the time is running, because I know I'm doing this.
So sorry about the noise, but
Yes.
we are doing some renovation around the school,
Yes.
and we got new computers, and we're trying to get this on the way.
Yes.
So, but things do happen and we need to continue.
Yes. Okay, so for this right here, it's going to be, if we were on the principal calendar. So back to the agenda, it's gonna be TEA required observations. Planning documents, observation number 1, mentor training, program requirements and expectations. Observation 2, which we go to the next page, I know I, sort of discussed with you
Assessment created.
yes, what could be some opportunities that you would give me as my leader, like, hey, Ms. Lopez, you could try this, and that.
Right.
And you went ahead and told me that the TEAS resource, which is the curriculum that our district is running by at this point, and I would like to assist with the teachers with creating assessments. And they could align it with their TEAS, they could align it to their lessons, to their student success, and all that
Through
information.
TEAS resource, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That would be great, through TEAS resource. And you've been the one, you and Mr. Vasquez have been the one going to the workshops
Yes.
on the TEAS resource. So you should be the girl of creating the assessments and making sure that they are inputting
Yes.
their,
The lesson plans and
on
their
TEAS
creators.
resource. Yes.
And then when you asked me to do the assessment creator, luckily I knew how to do it because I like to, ever since last year, I'm very, I guess, independent in a way that I wanna learn, like I wanna seek. Like even if I don't know how to do it, cause I know we have trainings, but sometimes you have to wait a while for that. I'll try to go into the system, let me figure it out, and then eventually you'll figure it out. But of course it takes time and planning, and then I like to help other teachers. Well, you know what, I know I could help you, it's always about helping each other out.
Right.
So that would be from that observation 2, which is where I have to record myself with a group of teachers for another 45 minutes. That one I would have to do it the week of November 7th through the 13th. So I don't know when, they're on your calendar.
That would be okay, because, well, on the 7th, 6 weeks. So I would say the 12th would be great.
The 12th would be great. Okay, that's the day of the interim assessment. También, ¿verdad? But we could do it pretty much at 2.
At 2.
At 2, that would be fine. And I already spoke to one of the teachers, Ms. Solis, that she'll be, I only spoken to her because it was just, in the hallway, those discussions that you have quickly. I'll ask a few other teachers just to, that way they're also able to learn more about the TEAS resource system and the assessment creating. Yeah, because as you know, the week begins this and it always ends on Tuesday at 11:59 p.m.
Now, if some of the teachers cannot make it, the ones that you're inviting, you go ahead and set the date and then let me know.
Yes, okay.
Because since everybody's available after a certain time.
After the 2.
Yeah, okay, fine.
And then for observation number 3, and I know you had asked me if I could help out with a parent training on bilingual services.
Yes.
For that one, I will double check with my professor because I know we could present to staff, and I believe parents too, but I'll let you know just to double check if that could be one of my observations that TEA will accept. But I'm pretty sure because, it's also part of, an experience. But if not, I could still do it and then we'll add another project, like anything you may have in
Because now
mind.
the district, what they're doing is they're asking us to do 2 trainings, to our bilingual population.
Okay.
One in the fall and one in the spring.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and to do 2 trainings on Title I, to all parents, one in the fall and one in the spring. So you already did the one in the fall, which
Yes.
was telling them about the program and where the budget comes from and where these programs
Yes.
come from. So the other 2 trainings that we have pending would be great,
Yes.
for you to spearhead.
And then for the other training, would it be the same information, semester
No,
2?
it would be different information. that we
Oh,
would
okay,
have.
like more information. Wow, that's pretty interesting because before it was once, but the more
Mhm.
information parents have, the better. Yes.
Yeah. It would be more of a training of, I would say maybe the Title I can be the start.
Oh,
Training
yes.
of parents
Mhm.
on educating them, how to read the scores, how to get online to get the scores for the
Okay,
students.
yes.
And all of that, because they are always coming, and so that would be
Yes.
something that would be good.
Yes, I like that. Especially now they have the approaches and the meets and the masters and
And,
yes, and of course it's best if they get it to the masters or minimal meets because I know the approaches won't really, count. Okay, but for that observation number 3, the only issue is that I believe we're in Thanksgiving break on the week of the 19th to the 23rd. So this week runs from the 21st to the 27th.
okay.
So I would have to talk to my professor and ask him if I could probably submit it the week after.
Yeah,
Because-
because nobody's gonna be here.
Yes, because the week before, it'll be too soon because that means I've just done observation 2.
Right.
So I'm probably have to talk to him and ask him if I could do it the week after because Thanksgiving holidays will be and nobody's gonna be coming in Thanksgiving. I know everybody travels and they wanna be with their family and so on.
That's fine. And then you have your observation 3.
observation 3, that's pretty much repetition. It's just, I know you had asked me, we're planning for me to work with Miss Peña.
Yes.
Yes, so that one won't have to be recorded, but it's just like another project, so I just went ahead and added it there for my professor to see, so
For
it's,
you to work for her in the interim testing
yes.
and in the start testing, yes, the benchmarks.
Yes, so let me go ahead and add that as well.
Because we're gonna be doing benchmarks in December, and we're gonna be doing the interim testing beginning November the 12th.
Oh, okay, that's true, November 12th, that's my husband's birthday. November the 12th. Okay, and then for that, I put the dates here from November 5th, anytime from November 5th to December 14th. And then I know it's after my class ends, but I mean, like I said, the hours could keep on going, they could extend, even at graduation, cause, God willing, I'll be able to graduate this December. And I know I just got my email last night regarding that, cause I have to clear you know how that process goes. And the only thing is the hours, so pretty much the dates are right there. And then the STAR exam schedule, that's another thing that, that you had asked me, like you gave me another idea, like how I could go ahead and help out. I don't know if you need to step up.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Just a
Yes,
second.
just real quick.
I'm sorry, we have
Yes.
so many people on.
Yes, I know, it's a real life.
Yes, sir.
We're just waiting on my principal. She did get somebody to come in. I know she had to talk to somebody real quick, but we'll go ahead and resume shortly. Oh, yes.
So sorry.
It's okay.
Um,
I know you're taking care of that.
yes, we're taking care of air condition issues, maintenance issues.
Yes, and I know our secretary has been out now for like 2 weeks now,
With
so.
pneumonia, so I'm taking care of, what do you call it, payroll, I'm taking care of everything.
Everything.
Yeah, when it's a small school, it's like that.
Yes, it's.
Let me just
insane.
give this
Mhm.
and we will continue.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Alright, so we're continuing. So pretty much for that, for going back to observation 3,
Yes.
well, actually, I would call it 3.1 because it's not gonna be an actual 45-minute video recording, but it's another project that you had recommended for me to do, and I do like, I would love to, participate in it. I put the dates November 14th through December 14th.
Okay.
And then, of course, we'll also help out with classroom relocation to accommodate testing.
Mhm.
Because I know I'm a 6th grade teacher, but we only test 2 days. And 8th grade, they test 4 days.
4 days.
So I know usually we have to either go to the gym or the cafeteria, or I know last year we will go to STC and watch a movie, so it depends what is planned for this semester. Okay, and then back to our agenda, can we go to section 4, semester projects? So it kind of it ties back into the observation, but it's just a little bit more details about the project.
Okay.
So it says TEKS Resource Assessment Creator, encourage teachers to become aware of creating tests by utilizing TEKS Resource System, present training to utilize tests and TEKS Resource to aid in student learning and test-taking skills, provide opportunities for teachers to apply Assessment Creator knowledge into their own hands by creating a test that is aligned to the current lesson at TEKS. So that is most likely ties into the semester project number 1. And for project number 2, parent training on bilingual services, notify parents about bilingual services EL students are able to receive, share resources and information regarding bilingual services for EL students, because I know many times
Right.
the parents need information in Spanish or English, and you have to pretty much provide the resources. And provide information regarding testing accommodations for EL students, like what advantages they have, extended time, like what they could take as many times. They want these services, but if the parents get involved, so we could communicate, and
Correct.
yes, parental involvement is very important. And for project 3, prepare for interim assessments, which is what you had just said right now. District benchmark exams, December testing schedule, plan for the usage of classrooms for testing schedule, relocate teachers by creating a schedule for days of testing, determine testing monitors by number of student testers, create a schedule of testing classrooms with assigned testing monitors, and attend all-star testing training with assistant principal, which is Ms. B. Peña, to discuss relocations and test monitor assignments with all teachers. So it's pretty much what I would like to get my feet wet with. And I'm also interested, if we go to the list of recommended core field activities, which is this one right here.
Oh, yes.
If we go to that one, and I know you've already reviewed them,
Yeah.
but I would say like, I mean, I know it would be great if we could do all of these, but of course, I mean, it's very important for the teacher also to be in the classroom and all that information. But I would really, like, I feel like what I don't really know much about would be budgeting. I know I had seen that it was a part of it, like, I'm not too familiar with that. I know there's so many codes and so many functions, and the function 12, it can function like different. I know a lot of that came up on the test, and it's like, it's intense. I'm like, wow.
So which budgeting would you like? Because you have here budget, principal, budget, school, secretary.
I mean, I would say anything that I could pretty
and
much.
Assistant superintendent, finance, budget.
I would say more, I guess, campus-based, because that's pretty much what you, like, as a principal, I'm sure you have to decide how you're gonna use the monies, or how does that work?
At the end of the year, no, towards the end of the year, is when, they will ask the secretary to go to a budget meeting in order to
Okay.
see if we're going to be moving the budget around.
Oh, okay.
You know, mostly, once you come into a school and you set your budget as to where it's gonna be, depending on the population of the school, the needs of the students, and that's how you base your budget, on the needs of the student. So, what do our kids need? Do they really need, what do, you know, depends on what they need, and that's where you start building your budget.
Oh,
And you have to take into account also your campus improvement plan.
oh, yes.
Because if you don't, if you have the budget, or you don't have it on your campus improvement plan, well, how are you gonna spend it?
Yes, that's true.
So you need to take it, make sure that it's on your campus improvement plan, and that in turn, that it correlates to your budget.
And do you have difficulty, like, if they reduce the budget, like, you have to prioritize, like, the same way?
Yeah, the past couple of years,
It's been
they've been
reducing.
reducing. So it becomes more of a, what do I do? Type of thing. So,
What can I
but,
do?
yeah, it's hard. It gets difficult, but you just have to prioritize.
Yes, you have to prioritize.
You have to prioritize and think of the kids.
Yes, that's a priority.
And basically, you also have to look your needs. What are your campus improvement plan needs? Where are your needs? Where is the difficulty? Who needs staff development? What can you do with the kids? Like things.
Yes, you have to really prioritize everything. That's difficult, though, because you wanna help, let's say, the reading department, and then you wanna help the math department, and then you wanna help the kids, like, take them on a scientific trip, or, you know, it's very difficult. Okay, and also, I like the area of discipline. I know I had seen it, because I know there's so many policies in the discipline nowadays. Like, you need to be very careful with how you, how are you gonna, like, discipline a child? Like, what am I gonna do? Would it be ISS? Would it be suspension? Like, do I have to call parents? I know it's right here. Discipline Policies Handbook, it's on the number 5. Pretty much get involved with discipline, and how do you handle it? What can you do? What's step 1? I mean, of course, you talk to the student, okay, or the teacher, you know, whatever the issue might have been, who saw what, and then take it from there.
A lot of issues, while I was at the elementary, were pretty much handled really well. Once you come into a secondary setting, it's a little bit more difficult. You have to really follow the policy and make sure. I mean, in elementary you do too, but it's easier compared to secondary. In secondary, well, you do have to follow the policy. You need to make sure that you follow the steps. Because if you don't follow the steps, regardless of who gets upset,
Yes.
maybe the parent gets upset at you, maybe the teacher, regardless of who gets upset,
You have to follow.
it's you on the line.
Yes.
That's the problem, you know? So you always have to follow the policy, regardless, you know? And I'm always, okay, what does the policy say? You
Yes.
know, what does it say?
And where do you check for the policies? Like,
We have them online. With the district, we have them online.
like the handbook or what?
Yes, we have the handbook
Okay.
online.
Mhm.
The handbook is online for the district, or I have a copy of the policy.
Oh,
One or the other, you know. Sometimes it's just something that the kids just need to go to the counselor, or you just need to talk to them. But they are serious,
Mhm.
things that you need to make sure that you follow the policy and make sure that, you know, you get the appropriate departments involved. And I may say maybe the school PD or the counseling
Mhm.
department, or maybe you have to call, child protective services. It all depends
Mhm.
on the situation, so.
I think that's the difficult part because you don't know what to expect and you don't know what could occur and you don't wanna do something wrong because like you said, you're on the line.
Yeah.
So that's something that I feel is very important as a.
And I'll tell you
Yeah.
one thing, as long as you report it, then you're fine,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
That's true.
so.
Cause then if you just turn the other way, it's gonna be like, hey, what happened?
Right, yeah. So that would be, yes, something that you would want to.
And then I know the next, well, you have a principals meeting, that's also attending key meetings, but I believe that's also like what you asked me to attend tomorrow, not the
Yeah.
principals meeting, the leaders meeting.
It was the, yeah.
See, so they pretty much discuss, what's gonna happen, and like what plans are, or what is it that they mainly discuss?
They're going to discuss, I'm thinking, we haven't had one since last year.
Okay.
So they're going to discuss, I feel that what they're gonna discuss is the TA plan,
Mhm.
as to the plan where they are at with Texas Educational Agency.
Mhm.
Because we were under their wing for a little while, and we still are under them. So they're going to discuss the plan and where we go from there.
Oh, okay.
So, that's what it's gonna be.
That's what they might discuss tomorrow. And then I know they have school board meetings, I know they had one in September, and
They have one every month.
they're gonna have one in November, I'm not too sure of the date, but I would also like to attend. I've attended different board meetings before, but sometimes it's difficult, cause they'll have them at 6, or you know how that goes, and then with class and all of that. But that would be something else that I would like to attend,
It's usually the second Tuesday of every month.
second Tuesday of each month, okay. And they pretty much post them online, right?
They post them online, so if they change it, they'll let you know, they'll post it on.
Okay. And then, was Title I and bilinguals and special ed, I'm already involved with that, like I've helped out with that. Central staff meetings, textbook selection committee, I know for that, you usually, like I know right now the writing department's trying to get a new textbook and
Correct.
see, so I always
They're
hear.
getting a lot of samples right now.
Yeah, so I always feel that is very good, like to get the teachers involved, and even though teachers don't agree, like how do you handle that, like, I mean, I know it's everybody as a whole, the whole district, but how do you do it, like, cause I remember when I had to select the math textbook like 4 or 5 years ago when the TEKS changed,
Mhm.
some people wanted the Houghton Mifflin, McGraw-Hill, and I like Pearson, so it was a dilemma, like, even though you would just send like a department head or something, like, you always had somebody upset, and then like teachers, I know, I don't wanna use it, so they wouldn't use it, and it's very difficult, like, how do you handle that?
That is difficult.
Mhm.
And, I guess the problem with us here is that we've used Sharon Wall so much in math, as you know.
Yes.
In the
Mhm.
lower grades, and in the upper grades, we've used Adomai.
Yeah, no, yes. Mhm.
So it becomes difficult when some of the teachers, you know, voice,
Mhm.
but they take it
Yes.
as
And
a
it's,
vote.
and it's mainly veteran teachers, cause I mean, I know it's very hard to accept change or, you know, so I
They're
always
used
feel,
to their way and not
Mhm.
change.
and I
It
know,
does become difficult, but we need to change with the time.
yes.
And we need to change with the standards.
Mhm.
Because if we don't change with the TEKS are.
You can't. Yeah, cause I know on our principal test, a lot of scenarios where, how do you handle this situation? Like, the scenarios were intense, like, they would really make you, cause it always feels like there's 2 right answers. And of course, but you have to go the one that's policy based, like, what am I gonna do? And the questions the first thing is like, I don't know, you always mention it, approach, it's how you approach somebody. You can't just go get after them, like, hey, if I notice this and that, like, what are we gonna do? And I like that about you, you're always a leadership, like a leader like that, like, oh, let's approach them differently, you're not gonna go attack anybody, and so I think that's a really good leadership, a leadership trait, and.
Just like yesterday, you have a good example yesterday.
Yes, when the parents had called.
The way one person approached the parent.
Yes.
And the parent got all
Yes.
riled up and everything, and then the way we approached the parent.
Yes.
Was very different.
Mhm.
Just, and in both conversations, where that other person approached a parent and where we approached a parent, we said the same thing.
Yes, but
The
differently.
same, yes, the
Mhm.
same thing was
And then the
said.
parent calmed down,
Yeah.
and yes.
The same thing was said,
Mhm.
but it's just a different approach.
Different.
And you need to take that approach, especially with parents, because you need to have them on your side.
Yes.
If you don't have them on your side, then what's gonna happen?
Yes. And I think the main thing is that like sometimes many parents don't understand that principals, teachers, and parents, they all want the same thing for the child, like to help the child succeed in life, in academic life, in social life, like as a student, as a whole student, as a whole child. But then when you have those kind of parents, like you say, it's all about approach. Como, let's be considerate. Like, why? What is going on? But yes, I think that is very interesting. It goes back to what it says over here: communication, like communication and all that information there.
The communication on how do you, well, you know, we try to practice the 8 habits here. So, as you know, we just started that this year.
Yes.
Try to practice it. And this month is October, so in October we were doing habit 2, which is
Begin with the end in mind.
begin with the end in mind. And that's what we need to practice.
Yes.
Okay, what is the end picture here? What do I want this child to at the end? What is it?
Yes.
Was it for him to miss school? Well, no, it
Mhm.
was for him to try to behave in the classroom.
Try to behave in the classroom.
Yeah. So the approach is
Definitely. Yes, and those 7 habits, 8 habits by Stephen Covey, Stephen Covey, they're real good. I feel like they've helped us because even the kids sometimes they'll say begin with the end in mind. I hear the kids, Miss, I did my homework early. I was proactive. I've heard the kids say that, and I'm like, and I like that. And the last time I called AT&T because I changed my debit card because I had some identity theft, so I had to change my debit card, and I called AT&T because I have the automated pay. And then the lady's like, I called like a month before, like, well, how's it gonna, how's my transaction going to process if I don't have the automated pay anymore? Because I changed my debit card. And if you change your debit card, it takes 2 to 3 months for it to kick in again. Oh, wow. So you have to manually do it. And the lady was like, oh, you're very proactive, and I don't know what. And I was like, yes, like it's even doing like helping teachers and students and leaders and everything.
Well,
So
they're habits for you to use not only in school but
in life, to become a better individual, a better person, a better, communication approaches. How are you gonna help other people and so on. Okay, so on number 7, special workshops, presentations, curriculum, PEEMS. PEEMS is pretty much what Ms. Denise does.
Yes.
So it's pretty much all the attendance and all of that.
Well, not only the attendance, it also has to deal with coding students,
Okay.
and that is so important.
Okay.
Isabel, that is extremely important. If you code the student wrong, that goes back to TA, it goes back to STAR, it goes back to TESMAS, it goes back to everything. Yes. So, Ponto, my son, if you have point here,
Yes.
is he bilingual, not bilingual? Is he GT, not GT? How is he coded? Is he coded economically disadvantaged? Is he not coded economically disadvantaged? All of those little codes are subs for your STAR, for your TESMAS, for all of these little things.
Even like
So,
finances, right? Like money.
Yeah, for everything. Yeah, for attendance, for that they need to be here at school. How much money are you gonna get? How many bilingual kids do you have? So it is extremely, extremely important that the coding is very, it's correct. Here at our district, we have a clerk doing the coding. Other districts have professionals doing coding. But at our district, we have clerks doing the coding. So the coding ends up falling on me.
Yes.
Because she's only a clerk. So whatever I tell her to do, she has to do it, right? But then at the end of the day, I need to make sure that it was done correctly.
Yes.
Because otherwise, it falls back on me. That's another thing that we have here, that we don't have a professional doing,
like at our district.
Yes, coding or doing things like that, because I feel that is one of the most important departments.
Yes, the PEEMS.
PEEMS and coding is one of the most important department, because it goes back to everything. That goes back to everything. It goes back to the child, it goes back to how are you gonna graduate at the end of the year.
Yes.
And I know we're in middle school, but it does, it goes back. And if a child is mislabeled, it does. It's extremely important.
And where do you double check, like from DMAC, or what do you double
DMAC
check?
is just a program that the district purchased from Region 1. The coding, we do it through PowerSchool.
Oh, okay, that's where you double check with the students.
Mhm.
And then they start out that when they're little, like when they're in elementary, like this.
Coding begins as soon as a child enters into the school. If you have a child that, is a transfer from Utah,
Mhm.
from Utah. So we get his transfer information, right?
Mhm.
But since he's from out of state, we have to
Redo it.
enroll him.
Okay.
We have to enroll him into the Texas system.
Mhm.
So we have to enroll. Now, if you get a child from Houston,
Mhm.
well, he's already enrolled in the Texas system, so he's already enrolled in the TEA system. So we have to enroll him here into our
Mhm.
district, but he's already labeled, so he already has STAR with him, he already has.
Okay, so it just carries on.
Yeah, it carries on. So now you gotta check to see if his coding is correct. You know, is his coding correct? Okay, was he bilingual over there? Was he GT over there? Was he economically disadvantaged over there?
Yes.
And then that's when T-Rex comes into action.
Yes.
I don't know if you know.
See, that's the one, the system, right? The perfect
The
system?
system
Okay.
to bring in their transfer information.
Okay, yes.
That's the T-Rex.
Yeah, I think I heard, I have heard you mention it before, and I believe Mr. Martinez, the
Yeah.
bilingual.
Mhm.
But I know on our test, there was a question about a student being special ed, and he came out of state. And they was asking if you're supposed to have an AR, a new ARID, like a renewal, or you're supposed to just transfer the information. So if it's out of state, that's,
What would you do?
you would have to do it,
What would you do?
you would have to do it again, you would have to start it over again.
Well, in our district, we
Mhm.
do it again. We have an ART,
Mm-hmm,
we bring in the information from the out of state.
okay,
They can honor the information from out of
Mhm.
state, because I've seen it, that they've honored the information
Mhm.
from out of state. If it's outdated, they
Oh,
can go
okay.
ahead and have another evaluation.
oh, okay. Yes, cause all that was in there about the 10 days, and then like even the discipline with the special ed students at the manifestation and termination, and it was like, it's a
It's
lot
very
of,
different.
you have to
When
know
you
the
have
information.
special ed students, it's very different compared to a regular.
Yes, cause you have to be very
Make sure
careful.
that you dot your i's and
Mhm.
cross your t's,
Yes.
because, yeah,
Like the process is differently, even like the punishment, right, that they have certain days, and if they have to exceed, they have to go through the process all over again. I thought that was very interesting, cause we have a textbook, it's a toolkit actually, and it's by some authors here in Texas. It's called Cortez Record. Cortez, it's a couple, husband and a wife, and they make these toolkits for principals, like for principals, and even for students that are trying to take certification exams, and all the laws are there, like everything's there.
Oh.
Yes, it's very interesting, I'll bring it to you, and that really helped me study for my exam. I'll tell you even about, like the FERPA, I'll tell you about, I know a big thing now is like the behavioral, like the way, schools, like instead of principals taking care of the discipline,
Mhm.
it was a discipline coordinator, or,
Oh, wow.
and I know a lot of school districts have that, but of course, again, like, sometimes it just falls on the principal.
Mhm.
So it just goes, I mean, of course, it's also one of the principal standards, but if you have like a coordinator simply just for discipline, I mean, that'll be a lot easier, because that person only focuses on discipline, and you could focus on, parental
Other
involvement,
things.
like, different incentives for the students, you're getting on a roll, different things like that. So that was a big thing that the state was like, oh, but we wanna work on that, like, we wanna try to assign that to different schools. But of course, I mean, that takes, it takes a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, one initiative takes years to do.
Yes. Okay, and then, so I'm familiar with the STAR, the AYP, accountability, discipline hearings, the courts, like I know sometimes you have to go to court in case the issue is, it's a big issue.
Mhm.
And SBDM guidelines, I know I have attended, some of the SBDM meetings, and that's when you mentioned about the budget, about what's happening, parents, and all of that information. Region 1, agenda handout certificate, and then committee participation, 504 committees, ARDs, LPACs, SBDM, whether it may be the district or the campus. And then on the next page, we jump to 10, tutorials, organization, and implementation. I know for our school, we don't have tutorials until January,
Correct.
but I know many times once we come in on Saturdays and we help students out, like whether math, or reading, or writing. And another one that I would love to, well, I know the shadowing, the shadow principal weekly, I would be very interested in that one. Shadow 1 or 2 central staff administrators. Shadow the secondary alternative school principal, director in charge. Attend a PEAMS overview workshop, or spend a day reviewing assisting PEAMS reports with the administrators in charge. That's in central office. assist in grant development, be part of district strategic planning team work session, assist principal in implementing mock emergency response. That's pretty much what we sometimes do, because I know we have, what is the emergency evacuation that we're gonna have? That's, I think I saw it on the calendar, that we're gonna have an emergency evacuation meeting or
For
something.
November?
Yes, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yes, we're having one on Friday.
Okay,
It's the emergency evacuation training for the buses.
for the bus safety,
Yes,
okay.
bus
Mhm.
safety. So you can coordinate it, you can go ahead and the times are there and everything, to make
Mhm.
sure that whatever needs to be done, and you know how it is, we have it
Yes.
every year.
Yes, I know. And that's very important because you never know what could happen. Students have to be ready for different things. And I know on the news I see that sometimes the bus drivers have heart attacks or strokes, or you never know, and the students know how to stop the bus. And I know, going back to the test, there was a question about, I guess there was a halfway house being built like a block away from the school. So the parents were concerned because, let's say your child lives next door, so usually the child just walks there. So the parents read the policies, the guidelines, that it is the school's responsibility to make an extra route, because since it presents danger, that it's not safe because there's a halfway house there. That means that the school will not have to bus those students, even if they live right next door, you still have to bus them. So I thought that one was very interesting, because even though the test doesn't give you the exact, what you did, what you actually got right or wrong, like in my head, I'm like, well, what's the right thing to do? And one of them was, you have to do it because of safety issues, or have a security guard walk them. But I feel like, personally, if you have a security guard walk them, you're also, putting them in danger. But I don't know, I think the question was just very, like, one of those, like, oh, what is the right answer?
What would be the right answer?
I had gone with that you still have to do it, because you still have to make a route because of policies and safety, student safety. That's the right answer I went with. But then again, we had discussions with other students, and they're like, but it could also be this. It could also be that. Maybe you need to step out.
No, that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay. And I'll jump over here, participate in panel discussions, TV programs, be part of a safety committee to evacuate buildings. I know we participated in the fire drill. We even had they have now the lockout.
Yes.
The lockout, we did the lockout last week. And that one was something new, because I know the foundation, the I Love You Foundation,
And it changed.
yes, I thought that was very, very good. Like, some people make a small difference, and it's real good. And assist the principal in the total budget development process, and become the principal's right hand in the campus planning effort for, I know the years are, it should be 2018, 2019, and so on. So these are some of the information that, that we could pretty much do. And of course, there's a lot more. It doesn't only have to be this right here. So anything you have in mind, like, oh, Ms. Lopez, like, help us out here, we could do this. And pretty much we discussed what we did. I know you all have science fair coming up in December, January.
Yes.
Yes.
We're gonna have the science fair, so you can go ahead and have Ms. Salinas, speak to Ms. Salinas, and help out with that.
That's gonna be in January?
It's gonna
In
be
December?
in November.
Oh, it's gonna be earlier.
November,
Okay.
sometime this month, no later than next
Mhm.
month, because they need to get prepared for, the one in, Harlingen.
Oh, for the area, right?
Harlingen or Brownsville?
Brownsville. Mhm. That's when they have the area one, and from there they could qualify to state. And I know last year we had a student that go to state, so that's real good.
Yes.
And then again, was pretty much everything that we've been doing, it always goes back to the standards. Because I'm always like, oh, like, you don't realize it, but everything's here. Like, it's like, it always makes a connection. So I think that is very, very good. And I also wanted to go back into this. This is what you had signed last week. It's pretty much an overview, back to observation 1, that, just like review 45-minute observations. You had signed that, because I know, and this is just my information. And this one's just for me. Well, this is pretty much the same thing. Attend a mentor training session. Since it's an online class, this is more developed for the traditional classrooms.
Okay.
But pretty much the training session is this right now, the PowerPoint and all that information. Review and discuss with the student to the core syllabus. That's what I do, with focus on the principal standards and Texas competencies and the core activities. So we just went over right now that we need 160 hours. Review student progress on an ongoing basis. So it's really important that we try to communicate as much as possible. Like, oh, what did you learn today? Like, what did you learn? Like, what did you experience today? What did, like, reflection, things like that, like, as to what my project is about, my practicum. And the professor, as far as I had asked Dr. Howdy if he was gonna be coming to my campus to observe me, like, person to person, but he said that most likely it would just be the video recording. But if anything, like if ever he wants to come, I mean, I'm sure he'll be able to come, you know, in case he needs to come and observe or you know, anything like that. Because when it's online, pretty much everything's done online. But it's still submitted to TEA, so just know that. And then this was, oh, but I had to sign this. It was about the release educational records and information. It's pretty much FERPA. FERPA known as the Family Educational Rights, initially called the Buckley Amendment, allows students at an institution to have education to control outside access to their educational records, including requests for information from their parents, guardians, or others who designated to the students. This is just for my safety, like in case the district is saying, like, the district knows that we're doing this, like, you know, in case any information gets released, like it's just FERPA. These are the ethical conduct towards students, and we had gone over that last time. And this over here, this is the one I got from the superintendent. Mr. Garcia gave it to me, but I know Dr. Arcadio was the one that signed, and he said it was fine. It's this was to the chair of UTRGV. Isabel Lopez has requested permission to complete a practicum internship for the principalship course at the University of Texas Pan American, or Rio Grande Valley now, during the spring semester, actually the fall semester. I understand that new TA regulations require that 3 observations of the student engaged in leadership and administrative field experience will be conducted by UTRGV supervisor. I am pleased to grant permission and state my willingness to cooperate with the university. So this is pretty much the district agreeing, like, yes, we're gonna cooperate, like whatever you need. Isabel Lopez will complete the practicum and required observations at Academy for Academic Enhancement Middle School, which is where we're at right now with the Rio Grande City CISD, under the supervision of Monique Rivera, the school principal. Should you need additional assistance, please do not hesitate to call me. So this is pretty much what it ties back into. And this is for the Office of Human Resources. And I was luckily, I know a lot of my classmates haven't been able to get this letter from their principal. I guess, you know, time and all of that. And I know for this one, he had actually given us like 2 or 3 weeks, because, you know, it's really difficult in human rights, like to talk to the, like it's really difficult because of all the tasks they have to do. But luckily, I was lucky to have you be proactive again and like, yes, let's do it. And then over there, yes, and over there the superintendent real quick. So let me just go ahead and check on the time over here. That way I know that the recording is still running.
Oh, your phone.
Yes, I know, that one was just, okay. So then just to wrap it up already, I don't know what your experience was as when you were like, because I know you have a degree in counseling, and you have one in principalship, so I don't know if you had to go through all this too. Like through
the practicum, yes, but it was more of a semester.
Okay.
Like practicum 1 was 1 semester, like the fall. Practicum 2 was the spring.
Oh.
So
okay.
you had like a year.
And they would observe you.
They would come and observe, yes. But you had a year of practicum, and you had a year of shadowing and doing things and logging, of course, your hours and things like that. So it was interesting. It is interesting. It has changed quite a bit because, of course, like you say, everything changes.
Yes.
TEKS change, everything changes, standards change. They don't change too much, but they do change. They do, you know, but the only thing I can tell you is, that's why I was asking you. I go, do you feel rushed? And I go, because I thought 7 weeks was kind of.
No, it's rushed though. I mean, I guess it's just.
Yeah, it's kind of quick.
Yes.
You know, I thought 7 weeks was kind of quick. It took me 2 years to get my degree.
Okay.
While teaching, so it took me 2 years to get my degree, and it's taken you.
Yes, it was supposed to be 1 year. 1 year.
1 year.
Because you start off with 2 classes every 7 weeks. So I started out with 2 classes every 7 weeks, but then personally, I felt rushed, I'm gonna be honest. So then I changed it to 1 class. Yeah. And after I changed it to 1 class, I was able to do more readings, because they assign a lot of chapters, like read from chapter 1 through 4.
See, and
so
that's why I
asked,
asked, I go, do you feel if it's preparing you,
yes.
Is it beneficial?
No, but if I feel like I'm prepared because I've learned a lot through the readings and through all the information, the standard, going through the TA website all the time, like what can we learn, because we also have to do some of that information. And I know for going back to the policies, I don't know, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the Legal Digest or the Texas Legal Digest, and I haven't really gone through that one, but I want to get more familiar with that, because there's different packages that you could purchase, and I know they always tell us, like, if you ever need help for this, like, go into that website, and I kind of want to familiarize myself, like, better with that, like, what can I do, because again, it's always, and their policies and everything's always changing. Yes, it is, because I know now they even added more, like, on the lesbian, gay, and community, and because before you wouldn't really have that, and now it's
you never know, You know,
Yes.
you look at what's going on in the nation.
Yes.
So you don't know. I mean, you don't know
Mhm.
what's gonna happen. We're here in the border town and we're trying to, our best with our kids here.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
it is hard, especially for all of us here.
Mhm.
And it's a different world if you go upstate. It
Yes.
becomes a really different world.
Mhm.
But no, I mean, my experience, I loved it. I loved going
Mhm.
as a teacher, to a counselor, to an assistant, to a principal.
Oh, wow.
Because you get to play all roles,
Mhm.
and then in the end, you're like, okay, it's not that bad,
Mhm.
you know, being here. It's not that bad because I've been there. I
Mhm.
know what you're supposed to do. I know what.
Like
this
what to
is-
expect, what can you
yeah,
tell the child?
What needs to be done.
And that's really good, cause let's say you need to talk to, you're also, if you have a counseling degree, like,
Yeah,
you
just
can talk to a child. That's pretty,
Talk-
that's great.
talk to them. So
Mhm.
it's very beneficial.
Mhm.
It becomes very beneficial.
And I don't know if you have anything else to tell me, like what do you recommend for me to do, or any advice, or any,
Well, let's see how it goes tomorrow first, because
Yes.
we're going to that leadership training,
okay.
or meeting. Let's see how that goes, and I know that you already passed your test,
Yes.
so right
Mhm.
away I told you congratulations and I was very proud of you for that. And
Yes.
you're always on the ball with everything. You're
Mhm.
always on top of everything, always looking for innovative things to teach the kids,
Mhm.
always on your own, you know. You are. We don't
Mhm.
really need to even ask you to do anything because you do it on your own.
Mhm.
As far as anything dealing with your practicum, I would advise you, get your feet wet with, the testing.
Okay.
Get your feet wet with the testing, because when you become either a dean or an assistant principal
Mhm.
at a secondary school, an assistant principal deals with this,
Yes.
all the secondary,
Mhm.
in Rio Grande. That's what it is. The dean deals with curriculum
Yes.
and testing.
Mhm.
So be very familiar with curriculum, not only in your math, but
Right.
check out to see the reading, social studies. What
Mhm.
are they doing? How is it working? What type of curriculum are y'all doing? The writing,
Mhm.
you know, are we already outdated? Do we need something new? What are we doing here? You know, is there other, I'm always looking for trainings. Is there innovative
Mhm.
trainings to teach the kids or anything like that? When you're an assistant, I would highly recommend that you begin as an assistant at an elementary.
Elementary ones.
If you're in Rio Grande,
Mhm.
yes. And the only reason I'm telling you that, the assistant at the elementary in Rio Grande does two jobs.
Mhm.
They're the dean and they're the assistant.
Oh, cause they don't have a dean. So they pretty much take care of all the testing with like teachers, like a
Testing,
committee. Mhm.
testing duties, discipline,
Mhm.
extracurricular, whatever, everything. But it may be tough,
Mhm.
and it's time consuming, and it's rewarding at the
Mhm.
end. And not only is it rewarding, it prepares you.
It prepares you for different places.
When you go through that, and
Mhm.
you end up at a secondary for an assistant or dean, it doesn't compare.
It doesn't compare. So you're like, okay, I think I'm sort of ready. I think I kind of got it.
I'm
Mhm.
gonna bother you real quick. Sorry.
It's okay.
Come on.
Mhm.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay, so.
So, I mean, you view and you compare. I spoke to an assistant principal that I used to have, Mr. David Zarate, I don't know.
Yes, he's from Gruya.
He's at Gruya High.
And he used to work at Roque Guerra.
Well, he was my assistant at Roque,
Okay.
right?
I didn't get to work with him, but when I did my student teaching, that was his first year at Roque.
Okay,
Mhm.
when Ms. Gonzalez left and I went there, I was with him for 2 years.
Okay.
And we did really well because we just hit it off really well, you know?
Okay. Mhm.
And when he moved to Gruya High, because I know that he wanted to move closer to home,
Yes. Mhm.
which was good. He moved to Gruya High. I saw him one time and he said, how's it going? And he tells me, Miss, it doesn't compare. And I said, really?
Mhm.
It doesn't compare. Because he's an assistant at Gruya High. He
Mhm.
goes, all I do is discipline, and yes, they put me in a committee or this and that. He goes, but compared to what I was doing at the
And with
elementary.
the testing and
he goes,
everything.
no. He goes,
And I didn't even know that. Like, that's very interesting.
Yeah. And
Because I thought
I've
the
always
counselors
said-
would do it, but I guess it's the
Yeah,
principal.
it's
that
the
would.
assistant. Well, in this district. I don't
Okay.
know about how
Yes, 'cause
other
every-
district
mhm.
does it differently. But what I would always say is, if you look at the principals,
Mhm.
where are they coming
Elementary.
from? A lot of them are coming from elementary or a D,
Yes.
if you look at them. So, you know, it really prepares you.
You're like, you're better prepared for different tasks. Well, that's really good to know. I appreciate that
Well,
advice.
because the bottom line is,
Mhm.
what is the bottom line?
Yes.
Your scores.
Yes.
That's the
Yeah,
bottom line.
and they come back to you, why are your teachers doing this? Well,
Yeah.
how'd you all get this?
Your bottom line is your
Yes.
scores. It's your scores, and how are you gonna increase your scores? Well, if you don't know curriculum, you don't know budgeting, you don't know this, you don't know that, you're not gonna know
Mm-hmm.
what to do. So I feel that for principals that have not really gotten that grasp of curriculum or things like that,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna get a little bit lost.
A little bit confusing. And that's what I like I like that field, like the curriculum, instruction, and like the error, item analysis, I like that field. Yes.
And always get your hands dirty. Always, 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 always.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's like,
Like today, the kittens.
yeah.
I thought, I was like, that, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's in the standard somewhere. You found some kittens out there.
But no, I mean, always, like, always, you know, you're gonna have different personalities with them.
Sí.
You know, different people with different personalities, but always, always be there for the kids.
Yes, with kids. Okay, so, that's pretty much it. So we have the dates, the project dates. We have the planning documents. If anything changes, I will definitely let you know.
Okay.
And, of course, like I said, thank you for helping me, thank you for assisting and being a part, and taking your time to do this right now. So I really appreciate that. And, if I could just, this is just the agenda, I just need your signature here and the date, that way I maybe will scan it and then send it. I'll go ahead and send it in.
Halloween.
Yes, Halloween day. I told the kids, y'all are not too old to trick or treat. If you celebrate that, go have fun.
You'll be okay.
Yes, because you bring the assignment on Friday. And that's it, that's pretty much it. So let me go ahead and see if I could go ahead and wrap this up right here.
Thank you.